To put in gear and air it out. It's time for
Monster Man.
With this movie getting a new Blu-ray edition, it was already on my Tubi list. I'm like, we need to check out a monster truck killer. Why wouldn't we? I feel like I watched this back in the day, but I don't really remember it. And I feel like a lot of people, especially that have been talking to me, like recommending this, are like, you gotta watch this movie. I remember seeing it. It was awesome.
These rednecks must have an IQ the same number as my underwear size to enjoy this.
We're gonna spoil the shit out of this, so if you do have the Blu-ray, it's coming soon. Circle back and hear our thoughts. So just to get the characters out of the way, we have Adam, who is a weird 25-year-old virgin boy who is obsessed with his ex-girlfriend.
His friend, who is a girl.
You're friends with her for over 10 years, and not once did you consider you as a boyfriend.
She's about to get married, and he's like, I need to go tell her that I love her. In comes Harley, and he's a friend of Adam's who's been an asshole his entire life, it seems. And he pulls one of the worst pranks I've ever seen ever by hijacking his car while he's driving. And now he's along for the ride. He's basically just the comic relief, so to speak. So to speak, because I don't believe that he's actually that funny. He's the biggest douchebag on the planet. And then there's also Sarah, who is a hitchhiker that they pass by on their journeys that eventually comes back into play.
Just observe that commendable firmness.
Then we have, of course, a monster truck with a stitched up man as the driver who is stalking these guys for seemingly no reason, which we find out later on. Everything I've explained so far sounds way better than the movie is. So Adam's just going along like we said. Him and Harley are now kind of on this road trip together. The banter between these two actually drives me nuts. It's not a fun way, it's just like a cringy way.
I feel like we just played Drop the Soap with Godzilla, man.
I honestly have never facepalmed more in my life than watching this entire movie.
I mean, how she shaves her vagifro says a lot about what she's got under the hood. If her little sex goatee is perfectly manicured into a little caterpillar or a cute little butterfly, like I bet this girl's done.
And so we're not gonna touch on all of the trash conversation that they had because it was just bad for like nearly 45 minutes. Anyway, he stops to take a shit. After wiping down his seat, he sees a glory hole, and the monster truck that's recently been trying to run him and his friend off of the road decides to stop at the exact same gas station. And doesn't he walk in, start slamming on his stall door, and pop open the glory hole? I half expected his dick to come out. His massacred Frankenstein dick to come through that hole.
Yeah, I was like fully expecting like a scary movie moment to happen.
But we do get our first glimpse of the guy, who is just like this monster face, stitched up, milky-eyed boy who walks fucking wild. He's crazy.
He's auditioning for the Ministry of Silly Walks.
You're really interested in city walks, aren't you?
Oh, rather.
Well, take a look at this then.
Well, Buddy is looking at this guy in the stall. Harley over here, his asshole buddy, is taking a piss in the monster truck. I think that's a terrible idea. But, you know, revenge, best served piss hot.
As the movie progresses, the whole thing just turns into this like weird amputee town.
Everybody's just like missing limbs. Like, while you're meeting everybody, you're like, what's going on here? Not just one guy with no limb, that's totally fine. Shaking many a nub in my day. What if you go into a bar and literally everybody has no legs?
Well, I'm still gonna sit in there, but like, I'm not.
Would you be creeped out?
I'd be concerned why an entire population.
Yeah. I have no issues with people not having limbs.
Yeah.
I have a huge issue with an entire bar not having limbs.
Backtracking a bit, when they're in their like motel, there's this roadkill scene. Like, there's a line, and I think this film just kind of broke that line.
From being a horror comedy to just like straight up trying to be a slapstick comedy, but then also just trying to push the limits and make a crazy wild joke. Adam wakes up with his hands in a dead cat and he throws the dead cat onto Harley. Doesn't he pick up that wet ass? I feel weird saying that. I feel like I'm that guy. He picks up that wop. That sounds like a Italian racist thing, but he picks it up and he eats it.
I said certified free, 7 days a week.
They let the gag go of him like trying to siphon gas, but it's a septic tank.
That's not the gas tank, it's the septic tank.
Terrible joke, whatever. He's a bad friend. But this is unforgivable. And then they wake up and they're all freaking out. And of course, Harley is in like a Speedo thong, because like, why wouldn't he be? Let's add to the humor of this film.
All right, fast forward from this bit.
We'll move to the part where we finally
Meet Sarah.
meet Sarah.
Relax, guys. I just crashed in your car.
These guys are like, why don't we try and bang her?
Look at her scandalous clothes, hitchhiker. This is what she's here for. Like, come on.
And they just like go to touch her boob while she's sleeping, which is fucked. But then also she's like,
I love the way you touch me.
and then she makes out with both of them to try and figure out which one she has an attraction to.
Virgin Adam, who gives a little neck nibble, and Harley, who just like lifts and separates the cheeks.
I would feel like she would be more with the aggressive type. I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
You gotta keep them separated.
At this point, you can pretty much call how this film is gonna play out. She's either dating the Monster Man, there's some kind of relation to the Monster Man. It was just blatantly obvious.
We were right. After she bangs Adam in a really cringy fucking scene. Probably the most cringe-worthy scene.
You're right. You are goddamn right.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I actually blocked that out of my mind. I thought the Rosebud scene was the worst.
Citizen Kane is the biggest practical joke in the world. William Randolph Hearst named his girlfriend's pussy her Rosebud.
This was the worst.
Very wet you make me, young Jedi.
Terrible Yoda impression.
But it's still sexier than if Yoda were to have a sex scene.
Is Yoda on top?
He'd have to be.
Wouldn't Yoda be at the bottom?
Little Yoda would get squished down there.
Force is strong with this one.
During some pillow talk, we hear some screaming, and it's the guy from the bar who Sarah whooped his ass.
You see these hands? Now watch out for my...
He's out there battling a Monster Man. It was a little one-sided, to be honest. And he gets run over by this monster truck. It takes his legs out. It looks like just fucking jeans with shoes in them being dragged off screen. I absolutely loved it.
It was funny because, like, you know that someone was just digging a hole and the guy's like, here, stand in this hole.
I love how cheesy this was. This was hilarious. And he does, like, end up just getting destroyed. And the practical effects are pretty good. I can't show it, but, like, there's a really good cut of his head getting squished.
So now they realize they just need to leave town and they try and get out as fast as possible because they call the cops. They're like, listen, either you committed this crime at the trailer or you leave the town. It's that simple. Like, the cops are not helpful by any means, because if you think someone is a suspect, the last thing you want to do is say, leave the town.
I'll put you in with a whole cell of hardy hard-ons. It'll stretch your ass out till it looks like a spare tire.
But we get our Crazy Ralph moment.
You are next.
The limbless man who definitely coming back to the scary movie situation. This guy, he's just got this nub and he's literally putting it in people's faces. It doesn't matter that it happened, it's that they drag everything on so long.
Calls him demon because he's the scariest thing I ever seen.
This is one of those things where I feel like the writer and director was watching The Waterboy at this time.
It's an early warning sign of the dehydration. You got to have H2O, please.
So basically now, we're getting to the point where it's like monster versus man. Monster trucks chasing him down. There's the actual demolition, the destruction that we have waited for.
That's what you want. When you're going into a movie that says the monster truck killer, we actually do get a monster truck running over a car and squashing it, which is excellent. With people inside. Well, at least one alive person, thankfully saved by the dead person that is on top of him. That was placed in the car previously.
Which we might as well add, probably some of the worst props we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's clearly just a shitty dummy. It's different now in high definition. It might have been passable back in 2003.
If a monster truck is trying to like run me over and I have the higher grounds, like it's a 2-foot drop to the hood of the monster truck. If I'm on the hood, it can't run me over. But they just kept running.
If I was running, I would run in the middle because then I can just duck under it. If you're left or right, you're fucked.
When people praise this movie, I think they just literally praise the final 10 minutes.
I would agree, because nothing really happens for the rest of it, and the last 10 minutes are batshit. So to speed along, Harley is knocked out by the Monster Man. We get the full reveal. Sarah is not to be seen.
When Adam is like walking in, ready to like try and save Sarah, you see like the dead body, and it feels like it's straight out of like Hills Have Eyes or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Clearly, like they've been experimenting. This is just a corpse. Then it just talks.
Good evening.
I thought this film was ridiculous, and now it just went to like redonkulous.
That's more cringy than this whole movie is, John. Adam goes to try and save Sarah, and she knocks him out in the big twist. He's like tied down, his head's in like a vice grip and shit. Yeah.
Monster Man is Brother Bob. Our Frankenbody 2.0 is Brother Fred.
Brother Bob doesn't see me taking a leak. He done clean runs me over.
All of a sudden, Sarah decides to put on the thickest of accents.
My brother is getting your body, Adam.
Maybe that whole Yoda thing was way more impressive than I thought.
Sure as matter's not.
Because not only was she faking a normal accent, she was faking a normal accent into a Yoda impression.
She's Jeff Dunham? Is that what you're telling me?
Silence! I kill you!
So Brother Fred, he's this Frankenstein creation that just has like his middle part of his body is missing. We find out Sarah has been doing black magic. That's why we've seen all these pentagrams all over the place. They're harvesting Adam's midsection for him.
Which explains why the entire town is amputated, because they've been taking like pieces of each person, and they've had to keep on living for Brother Fred to survive.
What a stipulation.
We discovered we had to let him live if we wanted my new arm or leg to take.
It is nice in this aspect because we do get some gore finally. Like, I mean, obviously the monster truck kill was great, but our man here, he's got a pencil sharpener in his pocket and he slices Sarah's neck and it sprays and it's clean. I love that. But now it's time for him to like beef with our monster man himself, because Fred ain't doing shit.
That's what you think.
For now. So he beats with Monster Man. He jukes him in the eye with a sharpened pencil, and then he stabs him in the other eye and puts it all the way through. And Fred gets up from his bed somehow and waddles his fucking way to the kitchen and attacks. It gets crazy. This situation is pretty fun, but it's weird because nothing magical has happened. And so you're like, how the hell is Fred living right now?
Drop dead, Fred.
We get a good showdown between the Monster Man and Adam, even to the point where Harley is also our hero and comes back to save the day.
I thought you were dead!
Hey, just hand over that Academy Award, baby.
Yeah, he brings the monster truck around, and Adam's like, no, I need to finish the job. He pops in there, and from sundown to sunup, he runs over and backs up, runs over and backs up and squashes the shit out of the Monster Man. But wait, there's more. Monster Man's not dead.
Same with Brother Fred.
I'm still alive!
Monster Man 2, when's it happening?
People are going to love this movie because of how terrible the comedy is.
So when I get your body, does that mean I fucked my own sister?
When you're all brand new, I'll do something to make that a moot point.
At the end of the day, wasn't a huge fan of this movie, personally. But I do think the concept of a monster truck killer is pretty cool. We had aspects of Duel, another movie we've reviewed. I think the gore that we got was awesome, but the first hour of this movie was atrocious. I just couldn't get behind the characters, and I just wasn't a big fan. So I'm gonna give this 1.5 best compliments I've ever heard in my life out of 5.
I like your root beer colored eyes.
There was that Monster Man and there was a monster truck, but I couldn't stand the comedy. I will say this. There's a big appreciation for the gore that happened in this film with the kills, and the third act was fun. Just everything else sucked. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 1 poorly performed Boston Crab out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, it's free on Tubi. If you want the physical release, there's a new Blu-ray. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more B-movie action.
Thanks for joining us this evening, friend.